baby, if you decide to go, gotta give me some time. Let me know so I can wean myself. Oh, don't make me go cold turkey, baby, 'cause your love's such a sweet and tender stuff. I can't get enough, no, I can't get enough of your love, of your love. I can't get enough, no, I can't get enough of your love. Baby, can't you see I'm begging? Please take a look at these knees. They're down on the ground for you. I'll do anything you want me to, but baby, you got to give me some time to make up my mind about what I'm going through. Maybe I'll find some time to implement these changes that you want from me. But the bottom line is I don't want to breathe another breath or see another sunrise without your face close to mine. That's what I find. Oh, I find that I can't get enough. No, I can't get enough of your love. Take it, Sammy. Decide to go, gotta give me some time, let me know, 'cause your love, such a sweet and tender stuff. Your love, such a sweet and tender stuff. Your love, and I can't get enough, no, I can't get enough of your love.
Yeah. All right, everybody. You just heard from Matthew or Matt Earl Meserve. Is that correct?
Yes.
And we pronounce
Matt
that.
Is fine.
I looked on Facebook for that.
You don't have to be so formal.
Yeah.
I have a cousin named Matthew Meserve.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm Matthew Earl.
Okay. Very nice. I like that. Well, Earl sounds efficient. I like that. Yeah. It's like George Carlin says. It sounds efficient. By the way, guys, welcome to episode number 31 of the Tasty Twist. 31 already. Wow. Here at Okemo Valley TV. Thank you, Patrick, Rebecca. And providing this platform, as always, for musicians, business owners, entrepreneurs, whoever wants to be involved with this promotional and inspirational podcast, which started about 3 months ago. I haven't introduced the ever-evolving family here in a while, but we've got Pumpkin in honor of the season, although it feels like summer. That's a Weezer song, I believe. I think. Yeah. Actually, yeah. Cool. Buddha. New addition, Sir Paul McCartney on there on the far right next to Matt. And the Tiki statue, of course, and also just, Vermont Strong and a SammyB silhouette. So how are you, sir? How are things?
I'm doing well. Things are good.
It has been a while since we've seen each other, dating back to COVID, right? When things were weird.
Yeah.
At the old Neil's, you, me, and Jay Osborne just randomly doing a Facebook Live, and that was a lot of fun.
It was, man. And yeah, we were talking earlier that I hadn't played out publicly in quite some time. Yeah. And I was just, playing at home for my own enjoyment. And for some reason, a little anxiety about it. And I'm like, you know what? I just need to go do an open mic. Like, no pressure. Just do an open mic.
And where was that?
Book a gig.
Where was the open mic?
Your open mic.
Oh, right. Sorry.
Yeah.
I thought we meant after that session. Sorry.
No. So it actually was.
But we did a lot of that before the shutdown. You know, Niels and Du Jour, right? Well, did you bounce around with Du Jour and Killarney's? I forget also. I know you came to Niels.
No, I came to Niels. Niels. Yeah.
Shout out Neil Barron, by the way. He was mentioned on yesterday's episode with Scott McDonald.
Nice.
Sorry.
No, that was such a great environment, like so welcoming. And we did. So then it was later we did the Facebook Live. Right. He set up, you, me, and Jay.
When you were, in addition to that session, were you doing Facebook Live at home after that?
I was. I actually did. Once the pandemic hit, I did quite a bit of Facebook Live and really put up a lot of videos.
Right.
And got a lot of great response. I mean, everybody was just kind of stuck.
Yeah.
And music lifts our spirits, you know?
Just out of curiosity, did you dabble in Venmo and PayPal like what I discovered during that time?
I did not. I wish.
Yeah.
I wish.
That ended up for me technically classified as like full time nowadays. Boy, oh boy, that was a godsend, like discovering that stuff as far as like utilizing it and everything. But anyways, yeah. So I know you have a lot of similar influences like what I have, but one of the biggest influences I think really comes to mind is you got a lot of Bruce Hornsby, a lot of Dr. John, just a lot of like influences around, you know, that style and that sound.
Yeah.
Would you agree those are some of the big guys, or?
Yeah, I would. But I'd say the biggest two. And I thank you for that comparison. Like, especially as I've kind of developed my style on the keyboard, I definitely hear that. Billy Joel was the first, right?
Ah, there you go.
I was in high school.
Yeah.
I fell in love with his songs and, you know, started off, I'm self-taught, so it started off very simple, you know, just like...
I didn't know that. You never took lessons?
No, I took about 2 lessons.
Okay.
Yeah. So it started off with very much just like, sing us a song, you're the piano man. You know, and then...
Sing us a song tonight.
and it just kind of evolved. So I did learn how to read music playing the trumpet. And then through voice as well. And then I fell in love with music theory.
Wow.
So I'm a chord chart reader, you know.
Right. Sure.
Yeah. A fake book player,
but
if you may.
But you also, I'm sure, picked up a lot from ear training also as well too, just on the fly.
Yeah.
Because sight reading, I think, is I think nowadays it's a very underrated thing.
Yeah.
It used to be the only way for a while. But it's still a very important thing for people to be able to sight read any sort of charts.
Yeah.
But that's great. And you are from New Hampshire originally?
Yeah,
is that correct?
I grew up in Stratford, New Hampshire. It's
Okay.
a small town near the Dover, Rochester area, not too far from the seacoast.
Okay, yeah. Now you're in. Are you in your 30s or 40s?
I'm about to turn 47. Next
47.
month, so.
Okay. How long have you been playing instruments in general?
Oh man, well I've been singing since as long as I can remember. So voice has always been my first instrument.
Gotcha.
And then I started fooling around a little bit on the keyboard at like 8 or 9. We had my grandmother's old cheesy organ that we inherited, but I didn't start really seriously playing the keyboard.
Much bigger than the keyboard that you have right there.
Yeah, oh my God. It
Yeah.
had the double and the pedal and yeah. And it's funny, I had a book. One of the first songs I ever did was House of the Rising Sun. And I loved it because the organ had one-touch chords.
The Animals, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, the original. Were there multiple versions of that song?
Oh, I think there's probably been dozens of versions.
Yeah.
But the organ had one-touch chords, so I didn't have to know how to play. Yeah.
Was it one touch? Oh, so one touch meaning the note sustained, or it plays the entire chord?
It plays the entire
like the
chord.
1, 3, and the 5, or the 1 minor, 3, 5.
Yeah, so if you wanted the minor, you had to play the 1 and the 3 to differentiate if it's a major minor chord. But if you just hit one note, it would automatically play a major chord.
Have you ever seen those pedals? I don't know. It's got to be for all instruments, I would think, but I only really know it mainly from guitar. They got the voice harmonization pedals.
Yeah.
Have you seen those things where you can adjust the major third or a minor third?
Yeah,
oh, dude.
Nuts.
Yeah, that's beyond my comprehension.
Yeah.
I'm like a lazy man's musician. I've had the same pedal board for 15 years. Seriously,
It works for you, though.
Yeah,
You know?
I came up with the saying the other day to be on top of if it ain't broke, don't fix it. If it's broke, still use it. Yeah, you know, lipstick on a pig, you know, a Band-Aid on something. Yeah.
But it's interesting you talk about sight reading. So I could look at the grand staff of a piece of piano music, and I could tell you what all the notes are.
Yeah.
Right. But as far as reading that and playing at the same time, not in my wheelhouse.
Oh, okay.
I could play the single melody line pretty well.
Sure.
But then I could just take a given set of chord changes and just improvise for an hour.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's
right.
I don't want to say, I don't want to like put myself down and say I took the easy way out.
Yeah.
But this came easier to me than, you know, because learning how to play, like you had Jake on, so the type of stuff he can do, you know, it was a lot more challenging for me.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, once like I learned my own style,
yeah,
it's hard to go back.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah. Teaching an old dog new tricks and stuff.
At this point, it's kind of like,
yeah. When did your performing career start? Like, when did you actually start like playing in front of people live?
Oh man, so it's interesting. My first job was at a dishwasher at the golf course where my dad played in Barrington, New Hampshire.
Okay.
And they, so I was 16, and they had a old big upright piano. And at the end of the night, the guys who had gotten a bit drunk at the bar would call me out, and at that point I knew like 3 or 4 songs. I do Piano Man, I think I do You May Be Right, and I can't remember what the third one was. So that was the first. But it was probably about 2002 that I started playing some gigs in Keene, New Hampshire, where I was living at.
Nice area. Yeah.
Yeah,
nice spot to be.
My first one was I knew a guy named John Cucci who was playing at the EF Lane Hotel in downtown Keene. It's called something else now, but and he got sick, and he's like, "Hey man, can you fill in for me?"
Yeah.
And I did. Yeah.
So did you primarily start in addition to just that? Was open mics kind of the big start for you as far as like just building your confidence and meeting people and kind of gaining some perspective from people that have been doing it a lot longer?
Absolutely.
Would you say open mic is kind of where you started?
Yeah, it's funny. I played the open mic at the Owl's Nest Cafe at Keene State quite a bit. I wasn't a college student anymore, but I just like would walk in and sign up. And it was a great experience and great preparation. So I'd play 3 songs every week. So the whole week I'd just hammer those songs. And that really built my catalog. You know what I mean? And last time I checked, so I've got a great app called OnSong on my iPad.
Yeah.
All my chord charts.
Yep.
At this point now, I think I've got like 750
that
I can call on if I need to.
Gotcha.
You know? Yeah. So,
I guess that's kind of a good segue. We kind of bounce all around like my notes here I have, but squirrel. To add on to that though, have you found over your 20 plus year career so far, and it may be a little bit more part-time now because you balance like working for Vermont Department of the state of Vermont Department of Labor, right? And you used to work for or still do for a company called Working Fields, right?
Yeah.
But regardless of part-time or full-time status, do you write set lists or do you just kind of wing it now? Is it kind of one of those?
Well, once the catalog got really extensive, I found that I was scrolling too much to find the next song, so it broke up. So I have a variety of set lists.
Right.
You know, I've got one called Piano Bar. I play these great gigs. I've been doing, I think, 9 years in a row. Shout out to the Lincoln Inn in Woodstock.
Oh, nice. Oh, yeah.
Gorgeous inn, gourmet restaurant. So I play there every New Year's and every Valentine's Day.
Oh, nice.
And they have an antique baby grand. So those set lists I still have. You know, I'll rotate the order, but those have basically been the same.
How did you come across that gig? Was it word of mouth or?
So they reached out to me. I think they saw one of my Facebook videos and reached out, and then I went and auditioned in person, and it just turned into this amazing, gig.
That's awesome.
Year after year.
Is that a big tourism time of year? Christmas and Valentine's Day, much like ski resort towns like Okemo here.
And then Woodstock. I mean, it is a destination that time of year.
That's northern Vermont, right?
Yeah,
because that's not that far from Lincoln, right? Obviously, where Loon Mountain Resort is.
Yeah,
and,
not super far.
Same area.
Yeah,
kind of?
and so Woodstock is. You talk about the Norman Rockwell like portrait. So Woodstock was a lot of it was built and developed by the Rockefellers.
Okay.
And next
that makes
time, if
sense.
you ever drive through, they have no utility poles. So the Rockefellers didn't want to spoil the view, so everything is underground.
So all electric is all infrastructure. Wow.
Underground. Yeah,
oh, that's cool.
yeah.
That's cool. So New Hampshire's unique in that regards, or at least that town is.
I'm sorry. Woodstock,
oh,
Vermont.
Oh, Vermont. Oh,
yeah. So then when
okay.
you said Loon, I don't know what I was thinking.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I completely know what you're talking about. Right along Route 4. Okay. So sticking in Vermont terms, what I was going to bring on that was I think it's cool how Vermont, after all these years, has stayed true to form of no major billboards.
Yes.
Like I'm from Connecticut originally, and they're plastered everywhere. 95, 84, 91, you name it. So that's cool. Yeah. So idiot me getting my New England states mixed up wrong. Yeah.
And I was just like, I just agreed with you.
Mile down the road. Yeah. Mile down the road. Three stop signs. Where do you go? Well, it's in 500 feet, you've reached your destination. Yeah. So anyways, so you've got a bunch of different set lists. That's cool. Here's a pet peeve question.
Okay.
Do you ever get annoyed when your set list gets thrown out of whack by someone that goes, hey, do you want to do this song? Can you do this song? Like, what if I drop $20 in there to do that?
I don't really get annoyed. Most people are pretty respectful with the requests. I will say that sometimes when you play private parties, like I've done parties in people's houses and they're comfortable, sometimes
better. You could charge more, right?
Yeah. But they'll maybe make a request while you're playing. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Hey, can you see I'm singing right now?
Yeah.
Oh, but that one time it's like, hold on, I'm in the middle.
You want to? I've got a couple wild stories for you.
Yeah, sure. So that's what we're here for, Matt.
So this summer, I was fortunate enough, the Common Man Restaurant in Claremont.
Yep.
I played 14 Saturdays there this summer. It was fantastic.
Very nice.
So part of it, I think, is you're playing in a restaurant setting, right?
Yep.
And it was a bit more informal, not as obviously as fancy as the Lincoln Inn. I had people, and sometimes, you saw when I was playing my song, I get kind of in a zone. And they have to walk right by me when they leave. So I had a guy lean in and say right in my ear, great job, man. And I kind of freaked out, right? I had another guy, I'm playing and singing, and he holds out his hand like he wants to give me a fist bump. And I basically just stuck my elbow out. I'm like, dude, I can't think of any other, if you were watching an open kitchen, a chef prepare something, you wouldn't walk up and give him a fist bump, or a stand-up comedian, I don't know.
No, but Seinfeld, okay, we warmed up in the warm-up about that. What's the episode where Kramer goes, so I knocked this guy out of the driver's seat with one hand, and I'm driving the bus with the other.
That's right.
And, by the time I got finished making all the stops, you kept making all the stops?
making the stops, yeah.
Well, people kept bringing them out. And George goes, what happened to the toe? Well, I'm happy to report that the little guy is installed back on the guy's foot. You did all this for a pinky toe? So back to what you were saying. No, guys cooking, flipping over burgers, steak and stuff. I can't do this right now.
No. I've had people. I clearly have a tip box.
Yeah.
I had. It was someone gave me a $20 tip, which I'm going to be happy for. But they threw it on the keys while I was playing. I guess he didn't see the tip box
next to a half-used cigarette that they just put out outside. Yeah, or you ever remember Stevie Ray or Jimi Hendrix, where they would have the cigarette on the
tucked in
the nut, on the top tuning pegs of the guitar.
Yeah,
I got them. I must be showing my young age also too. That's the tuning pegs. That's the nut. I don't know, something like that. Something like that. No. I actually, funny story back to sight reading. I've said this millions of times in the recording so far. I have a music degree. I'm awful at sight reading. I always have been. I'm 100% in acknowledgement of that.
Yeah.
Sorry, mom and dad. Even though I did graduate, I got a 3.5 my first degree, and then a 3.63 the business management degree. Anyways, my junior year was by far my hardest year with because it's kind of like you're almost there, but it's like, okay, buckle up, Buttercup. This is where the real work comes. Yeah. Then senior year comes, it's like, okay. The end is definitely near. Here
Yeah,
it is.
yeah.
But that was when the fun stuff was happening. Music theory, music appreciation. My senior year, that was awesome. But my junior year, it would be music composition or music arrangements, and I would have to write charts. This is a guitar player who learned by ear. I had to learn how to write for upright bass, saxophone, piano, drums, everybody.
Right.
And I would love to go back and get a refresher on that, because as time consuming, like I'd be up until 5 a.m. sometimes, like, and get like 3 hours of sleep and ready for class. But learned a lot. Segueing back to...
Well, I got a question for you real quick.
Okay,
so were you a
yeah.
music education major or music performance?
Performance. Yeah, performance. But this was still a requirement to do.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So I was a music education major.
Yeah, tell us about you. You studied at a lot of different colleges, or a couple different colleges, right?
Yeah, so I studied at the University of Maine in Orono. And then, I did a year. I decided to take a little time off. And then I did a year at Keene State College. And then I decided to take another year off, and then I got married and had kids. So kind of something maybe when the kids are older, I might like to go back and finish.
You didn't finish.
I didn't finish.
Oh,
no.
okay.
I'm the eternal junior. I got the first 2 years done.
Well,
and then I fell into human services, and I've done really well. My position now is a position most people have a degree for, and I just have all the relevant real world experience.
How is your current job at Vermont Department of Labor?
Oh my God, I love it.
Yeah. You've been there how many years now?
Oh, about a year and a half for this, and I was at Working Fields previously for about 2 years.
I thought you were in the Department of Labor for quite some time, like more than a year and a half. No, but you like it though?
I do.
Yeah.
Is
it mostly human resources, your position, or?
No, it's workforce development. So I help people with, a variety of like basic employment services, like helping people with resumes, interview skills, job search. But I'm also this is a great actually plug. I'm also a case manager for the WIOA program, which is the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act.
Okay.
And it's a federally funded program. There's lots of money to support people to get trainings and certifications. We have a shortage of skilled workers, especially in the trades.
Oh, yeah.
And nurses and, LPNs and LNAs. So there's, if people want to say, I've kind of been stuck in this job I don't like, I want to do something new, there's a lot of help to get people into those skilled jobs.
Would that take the place, just random question, because my brain has wandered for years, and COVID, I had more than enough time to think about this. Say going back to school or a brief internship for becoming an electrician or a plumber or HVAC.
Yeah.
Would something like what you're doing kind of take the place of internship wise, like after they graduate, or that?
No, I mean, we actually do a lot with apprenticeships. So
that's the word I was looking for. Sorry.
Yeah, we do a lot with apprenticeships. We actually have a lot of registered apprenticeships with the state. And apprenticeships are great because we call them learn while you earn. Mm-hmm. So you're learning while you're getting the hands-on experience with an electrician, and you're also doing the school component. So typically the employer will pay for that. But what we do is we offer a lot of support services. We can pay for your textbooks. We can pay for mileage to and from your training. We can buy work clothes and tools.
It's a different version of a business write-off, essentially.
Totally. No, there's a ton we can do to help. So when I was first hired, my boss said the Department of Labor is the best kept secret that shouldn't be a secret with the amount that we can do to help people.
There's some people that have been there for quite a long time, like make a total career out of it.
Oh, yeah. And now that I have a state job, I'm never leaving.
Yeah.
The security, the benefits, the pension plan.
Right.
It's like
I was about to say,
top notch.
I know there's like all these rumors that like pensions continue to like disappear, but maybe not necessarily in your case.
No, because we're part of a union.
Yeah.
So the state did want to privatize our pensions, and the union fought it, and we won.
At a board meeting, you're like, wait, hold on. Can I chime in on this? Yeah.
No, we have very strong union representation currently, and it's amazing to know you got these people fighting for you.
It's got to be good for your family. So you have 3 or 4 kids?
So I actually I have 5 kids.
5 kids
now. So we adopted our son Mick as an adult. He's 28. Okay. And then I have my daughter Maggie, who's 18, and I have 3 boys, Max, McCoy, and Maverick.
I love the names.
Thank you.
I love the names.
16, 13, and 11. And you may notice a theme with Mick, Maggie,
Irish?
Max.
Yeah, no.
McCoy and Maverick. Not Irish, just all M's. And my wife is Miriam, so we're all M's.
Yes, and they're awesome. Do they play instruments? Any of them play instruments?
You know what? They love, they all have really lovely voices. McCoy, I mean, they're all lovely, and I don't obviously have a favorite, but when I listen to him singing like by himself, like he's got like my ear, he's got like great tone. So, and they love to fool around on the piano. They have learned by ear so many video game and anime themes that they listen to.
So video games did come in handy. Now I'm thinking about it, they did.
Right. And if you think about it, man, a lot of video games are like jazz, dude. Like listen to the Mario theme. Yep. Right?
Oh, I always think back to my first video game, and my mom will love this when she hears this episode. I jumped the gun. I got Sonic the Hedgehog 2 for Sega Genesis, not 1 or 3, 2.
Just
Bam bam down bam bam dun 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 dun. So I'm a geek. Every once in a while, when I'm at home, hanging out at night, just chilling around, decompressing, I'll throw on Spyro or Sonic the Hedgehog theme tracks on YouTube. And they've got playlists of all the songs from those video games just there.
Dude,
and they've got thousands of views.
And they're great compositions, man. And the things they did with those 8-bit arrangements and 16-bit arrangements, like, it's pretty awesome.
So video games were well, here's the thing. I don't think there's any dog in the fight with time-consuming things now because growing up, 35, 47, and this was I credit my mom and dad. I thanked them for installing this with discipline, with time restraints on how long you can be at a computer or a TV, like playing video games. Boy, does that not sound familiar for everybody nowadays. Anyways, hey, go out and play wiffle ball or swim afterwards. Great, I can do that.
Yeah.
But it's weird now because back then in the 90s, it felt like, hey, there was discipline for us. Like, hey, now we have to go do non-computer related things. And so now I like decompressing, like going out in the town, leaving my phone at home to charge. You feel like Tom Papa says, comedian, you feel like a whole new person again.
I know.
You're not staring at a screen. Doesn't it feel good?
It does. It does. Yeah.
But it's got to be, so as a dad, you let the kids kind of decide what they want to do, whether it's sports or music, just kind of let them figure it out and not try to pressure them or like.
I had this vision of the family band, but I didn't want to pressure them, and they've gravitated. My youngest Maverick now plays the trumpet in the 6th grade in the middle school band. And he's actually got some pretty good chops right off the bat.
Is he the only trumpet player in the group, or are there a few?
No, it's funny. Max played trumpet but didn't like it.
I mean, like in the 6th grade. I'm sorry. Like in the current situation right now that Maverick is in.
Yes.
Yeah. He's the only trumpet player in the group.
Oh, in his
school.
middle school?
No,
there's multiple.
Oh, there's multiple.
They actually have a pretty decent middle school band.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And then they've all sung in choir. And Maverick has gravitated towards percussion too. We have a cajon that he really likes to play. So I didn't want to because once it was found out, at like 4 years old, that I was a natural performer. I mean, I don't necessarily have a grudge or anything, but it was almost like, and maybe you can identify with this. It was almost like, oh, you're going to perform. Like, this is just something you do. So there was some pressure. But I wouldn't trade it because it kind of made me who I am today.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to put that pressure on them.
You kind of feel you feel it within your soul if that's what you're calling.
Yeah.
And that's very relative because that could be for anything in life.
Sure.
That could be, hey, I may not end up getting picked up by the New England Patriots to be a quarterback like a Tom Brady, for example, but I still want to give it a shot and see if it might be something. And you know what? Whether you just remain on the college level and you don't actually end up making it into the pros or the minor leagues for any of the pros, at least you have that experience of you put in the work, you know what it's like to, and sometimes crap happens. I mean, when I was in high school, I loved playing baseball. I was a bowler and a golfer, but I never got, other than bowling, I didn't get picked up from the golfing team. I didn't get picked up from baseball, but I still gave it a shot. And the coaches still gave me credit for trying that.
Right.
But with music, it was kind of one of those, I started on piano, sight reading when I was 5. Never stuck with it. Then I got the Sega Genesis and the PlayStation. Got my first guitar when I was 10. Started taking lessons at 13. I didn't think, maybe until like I went to college and then performed a lot after college, I didn't think I would be as busy as I am today, which is like 250 plus shows a year, primarily solo. Yeah. I never in my wildest dreams years ago thought that was going to be the case.
Well, even in the open mic at
Niels and DuJour.
Niels days, and then I mean, even though we haven't seen each other, of course I've followed you, and I mean, and I think it comes from hard work. Like you're constantly putting yourself out there.
Yeah, I feel like you always have to say. Don't you feel like there's a connection with always having to stay relevant because life moves so fast now?
Yeah.
Especially with technology.
And I mean, like you and like Jim Yeager and these guys that you make a living at it. Like, I honestly, it's a little too scary for me because it is unknown. And I think part of it is because I've got this family.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, what happens when you lose that steady weekly gig that paid, your car payment? Like all that stuff is kind of freaked me out, the uncertainty of it.
And I had adjustments with that, Matt, because when I moved up from Connecticut, I mean, I left, and I still work for them part-time long distance, but I left full-time salary status at my family's business, Blanchett Sporting Goods. It's also part of the main reason why I'm up here is the support of that business, being able to stay at home and then eventually like save up for Vermont and everything. And that's a story for another time. I'm very grateful for everything I have from my family. But yeah, I had a steady paycheck every single week for like 10 plus years. In addition to, being at the time part-time in Connecticut doing this, and I had like 3 bands I was balancing and this. So now it's just all music primarily, and the social media content and the emails, the phone calls. It is like a full-time business.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
And but the thing is also too, to add on to the unknown, is when things are not going well in the restaurant industry, who's like the first like expense to be cut is the musicians most of the time, unfortunately. And I know restaurant owners and managers don't want to do that, but unfortunately, it's just it's the nature of the beast.
Right.
They've got jukeboxes still. They've got so it's an ever-changing industry.
It is, man. So I actually lost pre-COVID. I had a twice a month gig at the Fullerton Inn in Chester, and I played there for about 5 years, and I lost that gig because of ASCAP and BMI. Right? So it's like they started when no one was buying CDs. It used to be if you sat less than 100 people.
And this was because they didn't have the licensing.
Right. Well, he was already paying. They came to him and said, you need to pay this much per year to have live music every Friday night. And they asked for an exorbitant amount, and he talked them down. But then they came back and they're like, you have to pay more. And it was, and they... It used to be seat less than 100 people, they wouldn't worry about you. But then it became going after farmers markets and stuff like that if you weren't playing all original music. So
isn't it insane? Like they really go after like the little guys.
I know.
Like, like the little businesses. Like,
right. Yeah. And I don't really get it. I mean, I know. Here's the thing. Like, if I thought that Billy Joel was getting that royalty when I played his songs, it would be great. But I doubt it is. I'm sure it goes to lawyers and fees, and you know what I mean. I don't know.
Absolutely, yeah.
So
well, and that's kind of a tricky situation with the music industry, because a wild one, for example, is so far in his young career. I think he's like even just a little bit younger than me. Hasn't Ed Sheeran been sued 4 or 5 different times from like maybe the Marvin Gaye family, like in state alone?
Right.
And he won like all of the cases or something. But it's like, at the end of the day, don't we just want to play music?
I know.
and if we give the credit where the credit is due, like if people like clap a lot at shows and it's a song that they know, I'm like, yeah, that's Chris Stapleton right there, starting over. Like we give credit where credit is due, right?
All the time. All the time.
Yeah. And then if people happen to ask, hey, what's that song? Then you can probably say if it's your own. Well, funny you should mention.
Yes.
It's my own original.
I love that. People will say, who wrote that?
Yeah.
That's really good.
While they're trying to give you a fist bump as you're flipping a steak.
As I'm taking my solo.
Yeah. By the way, besides Facebook, where can people find your music?
So I do have a YouTube channel.
Oh, nice.
And
Please subscribe.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes. It's just Matt Meserve, no Matthew Earl Meserve.
Yeah.
But I need to be more consistent, get my music out there.
How many original songs do you say that you have?
Oh my gosh, I probably have almost 3 albums worth of original material that needs to be recorded.
Yeah. Have you worked in a studio before?
Yeah, a little bit, but not enough. Not enough.
Yeah, there's quite a few great recording studios around these parts of Vermont to check out. And
where do you record? I can't remember.
I've done a few different spots. I did I think 1 or 2 songs at I could be getting it wrong, or I at least visited. Shout out to John Sawyer of I forget the name of his place, but he's got a recording studio in Chester. It's off the beaten path off of Route 35, heading towards Grafton.
Yeah.
But the main one I've worked with so far is the Underground in Randolph, Vermont. Vincent Freeman, shout out to Vincent.
And Jim Yeager,
yeah,
does a lot
and
there
Jim Yeager,
too.
yeah. I also have done work at Primrose Productions down just south of Bennington. I think it's in town. I could be getting the town wrong. Sorry, Zach, if you listen to this, Paula, I think it might be the name. I think, yeah. But there is a guy who's also a local booking agent. My good friend Ty McCarthy of the Wheelers VT Productions, where at his place in New Hampshire, he's also got his own recording studio that you can do stuff there, or he can bring it to a space as well too.
Oh, nice.
But we have this place, Okemo Valley TV, providing this service.
Right.
So, anyways, all sorts of different places. I highly recommend. I know it costs money, but highly recommend going into a studio because it is a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun seeing the button pushing, the behind the scenes, and then hearing it in professional recording studio sound. Like Jake McLaughlin, for example, you probably heard his song "Living in Vermont" when all the flood stuff was going on.
Was that at the Underground? You guys recorded that?
No, this was at Primrose Productions. Primrose, but it's cool. Anyways, so you have a couple albums worth of original music.
Yeah, and I actually and I'm interested to hear maybe your perspective on this too. So I had been in a writer's block for like 8 months. Nothing I really was writing I liked, and I play the ukulele as well.
Oh, nice!
I love it, and I just started, and in the past like 3 weeks, I've written 4.5 songs on the ukulele, and it was something. I don't know if it's just the something different that got me out of my own head, and I'm so proud of these new songs.
That's awesome.
What
are they? Is there a theme behind the songs? I'll tell you my perspective on what you were just mentioning momentarily.
Oh, okay. So they're all actually pretty romantic songs, which is awesome. So
nice. Those usually tend to work out in restaurants and bars.
Right.
Yeah. But to answer your about the perspective of writer's blocks, block English language. There's that English language again. There. I think it comes in a 2-part analysis. I think. I like to think there's a similar feeling on it with burning out from something that you love to do. And everyone in some way or another through any part of their walk of life probably suffers from some form of anxiety or depression. It may not be like full blown with needing meds or therapy and that stuff, but we all doubt ourselves every once in a while. Don't you think? Like there's some moments where we're like, this is probably not good enough. And we forget that we're artists primarily to please ourselves. So every once in a while we start to overthink, we got to please this audience. But it's almost like one of those, when you let go of fully pleasing other people, even though you need them, like for your bloodline, for work and everything.
Right.
You're doing it for you.
Yeah.
And so when you get back to that, that's kind of the eye-opening experience I found where it's like, this is why I'm writing music.
Yeah.
But for me, my latest burst, if you will, of writing songs, which I've since then put onto 2 EPs and an album at the Underground in Randolph, those were mostly COVID-19 songs. When the world shut down and we were forced to be home for months, that first stretch of a couple of weeks, I just sat at home, Matt, and just wrote. I just wrote. And I just had one thought after another. And I just at the time, I wasn't really using my iPad to take snapshots of the lyrics, so I was writing them on pen and paper.
Yeah.
And that was how I was productive, because before that, I was working part-time retail at Okemo. I was gigging 7 nights a week, almost 2 months straight.
Right.
And I was actually getting myself like sick. You know, I was 30, 40 pounds heavier at the time, not taking care of myself as far as like physical health really all that well. So then like when we were forced to stay at home, I got really nervous because I'm like, I'm not making money. But then I was like, let me just write. Let me write songs again. And that comes in waves. Like all of a sudden I'm busy again. I haven't really written anything in the last 4 years, but I have the material to record. Does that make sense? Like my story
totally,
right there.
Man,
yeah,
totally.
But I think writer's block has a lot of similarity to do with burnout.
Yeah. No, and I really like that perspective because I totally get hung up in what are other people going to think of this? Nah, the hook isn't catchy enough. You know, this
isn't the right bridge. This chorus doesn't feel like,
right. Or, man, this is really similar to the changes of the last song I wrote. It sounds,
From your perspective, what's been a getting back into it moment? Like where, let me start writing again. What's been a moment like that for you?
I mean, I really think it has a lot to do with, for some reason, with the ukulele. And I've like changes that I never would have thought of on the keyboard for some reason. Just like, I wonder what, this would be like.
Yeah.
You're
self-taught on that also too. Right?
I am, yeah. So I play ukulele really well. I also love the baritone ukulele, which is tuned to the bottom 4 strings of a guitar.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Oh man, you would love messing around with it. So it's
in that order?
Yeah, so it's it's
so
the
E A D G in that order, or
no. So this has always confused me when you say bottom strings versus top strings.
Meaning,
No, so it's the D. It's the D.
Fudge around
DGBE.
DGBE. Ah, okay.
Yeah, so eliminate the 2 lowest strings.
All right, yeah. But in that order?
Yes.
Like, okay. Because I know there's the other form of ukulele where it's like C, right? It's C, E, and A, and G.
My dog has fleas. So the first string is actually higher than this.
My dog has fleas.
That's how that's how you remember it, right?
There's sight reading moment here. Every good boy deserves fudge.
You know what my favorite one is?
What's that?
Ernie gave Bert dead fish.
Empty garbage before dad flips.
Oh my God! There you go.
You should tell that to your kids. Yeah,
right.
If they want to get in the sight reading.
Right.
Evil George burns down forest. Shout out to my first guitar teacher, Casey Gorman, back in Ansonia, Connecticut. He told me all those when he showed me how to sight read on my lessons and everything.
Yeah, and what the bass clef is good boys don't fool around.
That's a good one. Yeah, good boys don't fool around. Okay.
Yeah, and then of course the treble clef is face.
Yeah.
With the spaces, and then ace G with the spaces on the bass clef. So yeah.
Let's I don't know. Let's like noodle around for a minute. Just like maybe like technical questions for like the musicians.
Yeah.
When you write your songs, do you start by primarily learning with like the main chords, or do you figure out like a melody? Like what's your perspective on writing?
No, I mean I'll just go with a set of changes. Yeah. And then I have to have an idea. So I don't actually like sit and write down lyrics.
Yeah.
Like I will just fool around.
You play like through 2-5-1 changes sort of.
Oh yeah, sure. So but it's really interesting. So this one I just wrote on the ukulele and I was fooling around with it, it's got some interesting changes. So it goes, it starts in G and then I go to the A. And then F, C, back to G.
Good voice leading right
there. Yeah. And then it's got a pre-chorus that's B minor to E major, which then leads right to
Sounds
the A.
Sounds 7, like E7.
A
minor.
And which leads to A minor, D, A minor, D, back to G. So
definitely sounds very Billy Joel-ish style.
Yeah,
right there
so,
for sure. Yeah.
So I need to start being better because I don't write things down, right? So I need to start recording myself when I do it. Because often I'll come
So
up.
that way you can fill up your storage on your iPhone.
Yes.
Camera roll.
But so I'll write this first verse, and all of a sudden that I'll work on a few times, and all of a sudden this amazing second verse will come to me, and I'll play it all the way through, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna do both of those together, and I get to the second verse, and I'm like, what was it?
Yeah.
Like it came to me, and
By the way, that could be part of writer's block also too, is forgetting to write stuff down.
right. And there's probably 6 to 8 songs that I wrote in my early 20s that I didn't write down.
Yeah.
And they're gone.
And you say to yourself, gosh darn it, why did I not
I know,
write that down? Yeah.
I know.
Did you ever use a GarageBand?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I loved GarageBand.
That's an old school app from like 10 plus years ago.
Yeah. I did some pretty cool recording on GarageBand.
Yeah.
And really loved, I love harmony.
Yeah.
So doing the harmonies kind of with myself.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah. Fun stuff.
That was kind of a good introduction to song production also as well too, is being able to learn that app on a Mac or a PC or all the other computers. I'm so technology non-savvy. But that's actually a fun squirrel, butterfly, chipmunk segue. You capture so much on these things nowadays, man.
I know.
I mean, between photos and quality of video.
Yeah.
And this is the equivalent of an iPhone 11, but now I think they're up to like a 16, and the Androids, obviously. I mean, technology, a blessing and a curse. I mean, I think there's a lot more pros in regards to like the capturing of anything.
So I have the 15, and the cameras are incredible.
Yeah.
And then I'll give a plug to this company. I have a Bluetooth mic called Audigo, and it's a little square, and it's got a magnetic mount, and it's a condenser mic. It has, on all sides, and it links to the app, and you can record the audio with the video. So there's because previous, if you wanted to record and then you needed to in iMovie match up the audio and the video together, if you wanted a professional audio sound. So this mic is incredible and easy to set the levels. You can't edit a lot, but you can definitely mix in effects. So it's really made for...
Can you do like voiceovers?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And now they just added an update where you can record multiple videos. Those you see where people have 4 squares where they're playing the different instruments, they're harmonizing with themselves.
Oh, yeah.
And do it all together.
There's a couple of my musician friends in this neck of the woods in Vermont that I've been seeing those more and more pop up, and I say to myself, that must take hours upon hours of time. But now that you explain it that way, maybe it's not so.
No.
Dude,
and then if you look at some of it's completely mobile. Yeah. So some of the great videos with Audigo that people will put up, there's 2 guitar players doing bluegrass harmony in the middle of a field, right? And they're just standing in front of this mic and they're capturing it on their phone.
It's fantastic.
And So the technology, and I as well, I'm more of a performer. I don't know really anything about the production side. So when it comes to levels, that was frustrating.
But here's the thing, Matt, I from looking at your social media presence primarily with Facebook, you do get yourself out there on Facebook as far as posts and videos, letting people know where you're at or a recap of things. So I think it's important to still at least have a very basic of that, because segue, there's too many platforms now to stay on top of. Between the top 3, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. You also have Threads and Twitter, which is now called X. But at the very least, with the 3 I previously mentioned, you can link one post on all 3 of them, I think, together. But there's another app for that as well too.
Yeah.
What I do with TikTok, I don't really use TikTok as much as Instagram and Facebook. I just create those graphic design flyers that you see via Canva. Yeah. I throw them out on TikTok. I then link one of my originals, which are licensed on streaming platforms like Spotify, Apple, Amazon, and iTunes, via DistroKid and Bandcamp. But it's all linked in to Instagram and TikTok. So you search Sammy Blanchett, and there could be one of my originals.
Yeah.
And so I put one of my originals to the graphic design flyer on TikTok. I lower the volume on the original, and then I do a voiceover, say, hey, everybody, happy Monday. Here's where I'm playing this week. Visit SammyB.com, for more information. And then that saves on your camera roll. Then you can link into Instagram, which then goes to a Facebook story.
Yeah.
Just blew your mind.
Yeah,
It's
right.
wild,
yeah,
right?
and it's getting easier and easier. And I'm mainly on Facebook. I live,
but it's a lot though. It's a full-time job.
Yeah,
it's a full-time job.
I live streamed almost all of those Claremont Common Man and Claremont gigs. On Facebook. And I know like my kids are like, Facebook is for old people. It's been for old people for quite some time.
MySpace is for old people.
Oh, that's really
Remember
old.
Tom?
Oh my God, Tom.
Yeah, Tom. The
Yeah.
original profile picture guy,
Yeah,
man.
right,
I used to love as a sophomore or junior in a high school back in the early 2000s. I couldn't wait to upload my profile song, my main song under the picture.
Right.
Dude, oh my God, 18-year-olds and younger, you have no idea what that first form of smart technology was like. That was mind-blowing.
You had your own theme song. You had your top 5 friends that you could pick and let everybody know.
Oh yeah, the top 5 friends.
You're like, this is my posse, so to speak, right?
Now you see
let
all
the world know.
Now you see all the scammers on Facebook and Instagram. You want less friends now because everyone creates like bot profiles.
Yeah.
Like I love those private messages you get on Facebook. Hi, how are you? Goodbye. Delete.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, not dealing with you. I know what you want.
And then my cell phone must have been in some sort of data leak, so I'll get texts now that say like, hey Julie, want to go out to lunch? And they want you to respond. So at first I was like, you have the wrong number, and they're like, oh, I'm so sorry to bother you, but how are you?
Yeah.
You know, and it's totally a bot.
Can we still keep in touch? I'd like please message me like right away.
No.
And
And
all
before
the
you know it,
influencers,
Nigerian prince needs your bank account for $1 million. You know, like,
absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's why it's, hey, let's get more credit cards. Let's get more bank accounts. I don't know, man. I don't know if I want to. Wrapping up the music portion of the thing before we talk a couple different things twist-wise. Where can people find you next? Do you have any big shows on the horizon in the midst of being a dad and full-time work?
No. So actually November is pretty quiet. I just had quite a few gigs in a row, so it'll be a welcome break. So I don't necessarily have anything lined up, but I'll update my Facebook when I do.
Gotcha. Yeah, and you'll let everybody know when you're going into the studio, which
I will, man. So I got to do it. I got to do it.
I'd love to be a special guest on a song.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, for sure, dude. For sure.
Awesome. All right, we talked a lot of sports before we started recording. You take kids to Fenway Park, TD Bank Garden. You take them, big Boston fan.
I took them when they were younger. We haven't been in a while. So interesting story. When we only had 2 kids, so let's see, my Maggie was 6 and Max was 4. We went for the 100th anniversary of Fenway, and they had the open house, so you could walk on the field. You weren't supposed to touch the green monster, but everybody was doing it anyway. Like I got a great picture of me, like I'm making a catch.
Didn't Manny Ramirez, Manny being Manny, didn't he go to the bathroom in the green monster one time?
Probably.
Hey, if he can do it,
then
I know.
You got to sit in the dugout for a bit. So really scary though. They weren't. I mean, they knew it would be popular, I think, but they weren't prepared. Like that day, it was like close to 90,000 people came in and out of Fenway.
Holy cow.
Yeah, so my 4-year-old Max.
What's the capacity? 38,000?
I think so. That sounds
that's about right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been to Fenway like 20 times, I think, in my career. And so I'm a geek with that stuff too.
So we're on the open house, and we stopped to look at something, and our 4-year-old kept walking. So talk about like scariest parenting moment. And after about 5 minutes, we found him. Like a security guard was like, "Hey, I found this little guy."
Was it the security guard that was right next to Torrey Hunter falling in the bullpen when Poppy hit the grand slam in 2013? The guy, I forget the guy's name. Yeah. Have you met any? Who's like the most famous Red Sox that you've ever met?
I haven't met anybody.
Oh, you haven't?
But I've got a great story.
Yeah.
So
by meeting, I mean like signing a ball, handshake, and that's about it. Like a quick. like interaction.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing.
I'll tell you who I got really quickly before your
Okay,
story.
but I've got a great story. So my
Yeah.
father worked for the Postal Service for 30 years. And his first job with the Postal Service is he was a substitute rural carrier in Raymond, New Hampshire, where Carlton Fisk lived. So he was
kidding.
He was Carlton Fisk mailman. And
For those that don't know, 1975, the left field foul pole.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pudge.
Pudge.
Right?
Yeah.
So my father sometimes would deliver mail in the summer. He'd open the mailbox and there'd be tickets.
Wow.
And so I'm a lot younger than my brother and sister.
Yep.
So they would go to the game, and sometimes, they'd go with the tickets and it'd be behind home plate with Carlton Fisk's like wife and kids.
Wow.
So he was a super nice guy.
Wow.
So my dad knew Carlton Fisk.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Wow. That's an excellent story. Now I think he's since passed away, but imagine if you also met Johnny Pesky, who was also the right field foul pole,
Right,
Pesky
right.
pole.
Yeah.
I was fortunate with my dad many times going to Fenway Park. We got to meet. The big ones I can think of are we got autographs from Jason Varitek, Nomar, and Pedro.
Wow.
Now Pedro was the oddest of all because this was, I believe, I want to say it was like Father's Day or Mother's Day in 2000. This was actually another interesting Fenway story, but this one first. We were 3 or 4 rows of people back from getting Pedro's autograph. And some people, again, this is 2000. This is well before smartphones and everything or whatever. But people were like kind of almost like jawing at each other about like who was here first to get Pedro's autograph. And Pedro was like a no-nonsense guy. You know, he was like a headhunter, like he'll hit someone like to defend his teammates or whatever.
Yeah.
He overheard like some of the people arguing. He goes, "Keep it up, no more. I want everybody to play nice. I'm here for you guys. If this keeps up, I'm done." And he went just right back to like signing autographs and everything. He didn't say it like maliciously or mean. He was just like, "Guys, play nice. Come
Just
on,
matter of
we're all
fact,
here."
right.
Right, exactly. The other Fenway story that I found was very ironic given the timing. I was with my dad and one of my old friends. Shout out to elementary school buddy Kyle Jenkins. We were center field bleachers. It was September 2nd, 2001, 9 days before 9/11, before everything in our world like changed ever since and everything. It was the game that Mike Mussina, who his first year with the Yankees, was 1 pitch away from a perfect game at Fenway Park. And one of my parents' least favorite outfielders for the Red Sox at the time, Carl Everett, got an opposite field base hit to left field. And the Yankees were only up 1-0. I think David Cohn was pitching for the Red Sox at that time. But dude, it was wild, man. Yeah, we almost saw a perfect game. 1 pitch away from a perfect game.
Oh, my
and of course, it was the Yankees, you know?
Yeah.
By the
So
way,
even
shout out to
sweeter.
the Red Sox 20 years ago, beating October 27th was the actual final breaking of the curse. But a couple days ago, it was 20th anniversary of the comeback.
Magical.
I was 15. Did not complete my homework as a sophomore in high school most nights. But the David Ortiz nights, Game 4 and Game 5, lost a lot of sleep those nights, man. Like staying up for those games.
So previous to human services, I was in food service management. So at that time, I was managing a Subway restaurant.
Oh, wow.
And I was so tired. I'm in there baking the bread and slicing the veggies after those 12, 13 inning games up till 2 in the morning.
Right.
And then it's so exciting. Like I couldn't sleep after that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because what's a normal day for you? You got to go in pretty early, right, for that job?
Yeah. So I would get there. I'd usually get there between 7 and 7:30.
Yeah.
When
does the Subway normally open? Like 10?
10. Yeah.
10. Yeah.
And you bake the bread fresh every day. So
Yeah. That's awesome. So, tell me about some of the other jobs over the years. Like you just mentioned Subway, I think was cool. So have you worked in like food service industry, like different roles or like many different jobs? Or,
Yeah. So there was the Subway. It was mainly kind of that style of restaurant management. So I actually was assistant manager and manager for a period of time. They've since remodeled, but Cumberland Farms in Keene had a 24-hour pizza and sub shop. So for about 3 years, I worked 11 to 7, and we were busy. You'd get a rush before people went to the bar. You'd get a rush at 12:45 when the bars let out. And Keene State College, it's a college town.
Oh, yeah.
2:30 in the morning when all the frat parties.
Isn't it still ranked like the third or fourth like biggest party college in all of America?
Yeah, because there's nothing else to do.
Nothing else to do. Yeah. Back when I'm sure there were a lot less rules, in the 80s or 90s, keg parties and keg stands on top of roofs was probably a no-brainer. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was a wild time.
Yeah,
I saw a lot of wild stuff at the middle of the night in Cumbie.
One of my first managers from my dad's company, I'm pretty sure that he went to Keene State years ago. I mean, I think he's almost in his 60s now, but yeah, he said they were completely wild times.
Oh, it was
like
bonkers.
Back then. Yeah.
Bonkers.
Besides the obvious, hey, I need a job to like pay for bills and stuff. Did working in food service industry gain a lot of perspective as far as dealing with the public, especially now translating that as a musician?
Oh, totally. And I've always it's interesting. No matter what I've done, even with the food service, I liked helping people. So I enjoyed. It's funny when I managed the Subway. I loved talking to the people and building the subs right in front of them, and the classic rock station would be on, so I'd be singing along, and I became known as the singing sub guy, right? And so I learned a lot of customer service experience and then a lot of management experience that I still kind of apply now, like the ability to have tough conversations with the employees I had.
Right.
I mean, the first time I had to let somebody go, it was sick to my stomach. And then, but those.
How often have you had to do that?
Not all that often, fortunately.
Yeah.
But they're always tough conversations.
Is it? It's got to be different levels of not easiness to it, because on the one hand, it's like if you have to let someone go because, let's say, the company's making like a decision to like downsize departments or in general, and it's like a good person, like a solid person, that's got to be gut wrenching for you, I would imagine. But on the flip side, if you're letting someone go because they're a for lack of a better language barrier, a-hole, it's got to be, well, I can't wait to get rid of this guy or gal, but because they're in this situation, they're probably going to make a big stink about it. They're going to maybe file a lawsuit with the company, even though all the evidence is against them that they saw this coming.
Yeah.
It's
so luckily I haven't really had a lot of experience with the letting a good person go. It's been more the
they had it coming to them.
Yeah. And then, most of my food service management was in New Hampshire, and both New Hampshire and Vermont are right to hire, right to fire states. So you can just fire someone. You don't even have to tell them why.
I forgot all about that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So it got easier, and especially if they had it coming, but it put you in a tough spot, because even if that person wasn't the greatest employee, they filled a slot. And then, so you're letting someone go, you don't have one in line to replace them. That makes your job as a manager, and I was salaried, so I would have to work extra shifts until I found someone,
Yeah.
So.
Are you a team leader or a head manager now with your job with the state?
No, I mean, I'm a case manager, so I still manage people. I manage my participants, my clients, but I'm not in a supervisory position as far as employees under me.
Yeah. I forgot to ask, besides playing solo, are you with bands? Have you done work with bands before too?
I played with a multitude of bands. Yeah. Last band I played with, really, great group of musicians, the John Sullivan Band. Do you know John?
I've heard the name, but I'm not as familiar. Yeah.
Oh my God, he's in his early 60s, but he in Boston, like his bands were big, like opened for Aerosmith.
Oh wow.
In the 80s, like yeah. Crazy stories, like jammed with Joe Cocker one time.
Yeah.
He threw on one of his solo CDs and there's this ripping sax solo. He's like, oh yeah, that's Joe Cocker's sax player playing.
Did Joe always battle Parkinson's? You know how he had like the shakes, like when he would be on